just did.
So I'm just going to in 10, there is that ability now to have a default script start and automatically populate some for you. But what if I could decide what's in that default script? That would be pretty cool. Just on drop down new script. Oh yeah, I want to do my default script. There it goes. But in lieu of that, we have this kind of thing. So we've got a basic script. We have this. Let me zoom back in here. 2 items that should be in every script. Make a conscious decision on, am I going to allow the user to stop this script, allow user abort on or off, and declare it up front. Just because you know you've got to manage it is do some error. I'm assuming you're doing some error capture, and if you don't, in another 10 minutes I'll show you why there's 2 ways to look at why error capture is good. But declare it up front as, do I have some routines in here? What am I doing? And what does this, first off, what does set error capture do at the user level? What's the impact of this?
It determines whether or not they're going to see an error message.
Yeah.
If
Which,
they do something, if there are certain defined results that FileMaker will say, hey, you can't enter this type of data in this field. I didn't find any records.
okay.
And if you turn data capture on, then it just says, okay, I'm not going to show the user that.
And how does that affect the user experience? Or does it have any effect on the user experience?
Big time.
Yeah,
Big time.
I mean, it does in terms of, as the developer, you then control what they see or how the application that you're developing handles those conditions, rather than the default.
Okay. But if I think of it from a user-centric view, I'm sorry, go ahead, Jeff.
I have one question about the allow user abort. What I typically do is assign that in another script, so that if I'm developing, I can turn user abort off. So if there's an issue, I'll find it immediately, and then when I'm closer to deployment, I'll turn it on in the script in one place.
Interesting.
Unless it's specific to some procedure, then I will back out to this one or pass a parameter saying on or off, depending on whether I'm in a deploy or I'm in a development.
Does anybody want to chime in about what the scope of allow user abort is?
Isn't the current script and any subscripts that
Does? How far down? I want to talk about scope of this step and also script variables. Let me put it a different way. How certain are you that next week you're not going to write a script that you fit in between those, or you do something that, where's the direct connection? So there's an argument that I would make actually against modularity in one sense, which is you can get too modular in that you'll lose the thread of what your things are. So that, and you make a more fragile system. The best example being, what if I point a script back to a global field, let's say, and that holds a layout name that I want to go to, and says go to layout. Oh, let's go look at this global field. Is that a good practice? And why or why not?
Layout name may change.
Was that clear what I just said? So I have a layout. The script step is, I have a script. The script step is go to layout, and it says go by layout name, and it refers to the value that's in a global field.
Context.
Okay. Yeah.
Layout name.
But it's a global field.
So the layout name may change.
Layout. Who would change it?
Well, if you run 2 scripts, they
you
might
might.
change it for you at the wrong
Oh,
time.
so I might be in layout mode. I go, I want to preface all my layouts now with brackets
And then you forget that it's in that script step and it's pointing
you
to
have
that.
a detached, exactly. You have a detached context. Thank you, John. About that's fragile. So you want to directly connect it a little bit.
Yeah.
So if it's not right there in your face, you're not going to remember. Or let's say that I do that, and I have to go now and find every instance where that happens. What tool would I use to find that? Well, I want to find every instance that I refer to a layout name or a layout.
Well, the DDR might get you there.
Yeah, I'll probably do a database design report or one of the other tools.
Lengthy process.
What's that?
It could be a lengthy process.
It could be.
Yeah, certainly.
And I have better things to do with my time, so I'm going to maybe not do it as much as that way. So those two things, set error capture, allow user report. Again, you can turn off and on as you need to. I would, so I respect what you were saying, Jeff, about wanting to have that in one place and save yourself time. I suggest you make that decision on every script. In the script, in the first 6 or 7 lines. So you know when you look at this, what's going on with this? Where am I at? What's the other piece that we tie to this often? About user capabilities with the script. Well, this one down here. You make a conscious choice on that one all the time as well. I mostly leave it off unless I really need to turn it on for admin. That's about as much thought as I give it. And if I have a situation where I need an ability to override a user privilege level, that's the only time I'll ever turn that on, right? And another example when that might be?
When you want a subset or a subscript out different actions based on privilege set.
Give me exact one?
Well, delete a record.
Perfect, okay. How many folks control deletion of records? How many people allow their users to delete records but not in their privileges? Does that make sense? Turn it around. How many people prevent your...
Yeah, all the time.
All the time. So you lock down the user. They can't delete records. In the security part of it, you say, cannot delete records in this table.
Correct.
But sometimes they need to delete the record legitimately, right?
I try to avoid that and make that something that happens at the support level. So in other words,
Okay.
usually what they're deleting is strategic. And so somebody else makes that decision for them. They flag it and say, this is something that I marked for deletion, and the other person actually kills it.
And it's is it a legitimate manager kind of reference? So a manager has to delete the record?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And you have the manager locked down, so they can't willy-nilly delete all your records?
No.
Oh, okay, fine. But
They've got the automatic weapons.
see, I take the dark side. I'm trying to think when it happened. It might have been from the 6 to 7 shift. The difference between the optimistic and pessimistic security model. So, in the old days, everybody was happy, everybody was nice, you know. Right? In FileMaker 6,
The 60s.
you had a security model that assumed you could access everything. Life was good. That happened with 7, right? I think. And at 7, maybe pessimistic's the wrong word, but realistic. So when you created a new user, they couldn't do anything. You had to specifically grant them every single privilege. Right? So that's a little different way of looking at that. I'm going to get to an exercise here pretty soon.
Which also tends to match how they do it in SQL as well.
Well, which is actually, if we think about what we're doing here, FileMaker 7 and the unified, somebody mentioned that yesterday, the unified security model is one of the reasons we can now sell into corporations that have any kind of IT department, worth their salt, because they, frankly, if I had been an IT guy in charge of something and somebody wanted to bring FileMaker 6 in, no way. It is full of bugs. There's no security. It's easily cracked. Everything's crackable, right? But that was really easily cracked. 7 was a unified security model that across the board, if they can't get to this data in your security, in your account settings, they can't get to it anywhere. If they come in by the web, ODBC, IWP, it's locked down. So that was a great change. Next section. Here, variables. How many people pass multiple parameters to a script? And we have 5, 6. I'm guessing we probably have 7. How many different ways do you think we're doing this? Do you mind if I ask what yours is? Just briefly.
We have this long string with the substitute function and middle values, and we can have